Hare Krishna, Krishna devotees and Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you, Aarti Mataji, Pawan Prabhuji, Shilpa Mataji for leading the chanting this morning. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminati Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshitarini जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. Okay, so as our tradition, we will continue with the prayer, Vaishnava Bhajan, and English translation. So last week we sang the glories of the two transcendental brothers, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, as Parama Karuna Bahudvijana. So today we'll sing a new bhajan by Shri Narottam Das Thakur, Hari Hari Vipale Janama Gavayu. So yesterday we were reading in Prabhupada Lilamrit how Prabhupada is saying that no time, this is the chronic problem of this modern civilization. Nobody has time. Everybody's just so busy. So this prayer by Shanatam Das Thakur also is in the same theme. So let's sing this today and this whole week. And then we'll learn some life lessons from this that we can apply in our life. Okay. Hari Hari Bifale Janama Gavainu Manusha Janama Paya Radha Krishna Bhajiya Manusha Janama Paya Radha Krishna Bhajiya Janiya Shuniya Vishakhainu Janiya Suniya Vishakhainu Hari Hari Bifale Janama Gavainu Golokera Prema Dhana Hari Nama Sankirtana Golokera Prema Dhana Hari Nama Sankirtana Ratina Janmilo Kinetai Samsara Vishanale Dibani Shihiya Jwale Samsara Vishanale Dibani Shihiya Jwale Juraite na koi no upay Juraite na koi no upay Brajendra Nandana Ji Shachi Sutta Hoilo Se Brajendra Nandana Ji Shachi Sutta Hoilo Se Balaram Hoilo Nitai Balaram Hoilo Nitai Dinahina Jata Chilo Hari Name Udharilo Tara Sakshi Jagai Madhai Aha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vrishabhanu Sutta Juta Aha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vrishabhanu Sutta Juta Karuna Karo He Ibar করুণা করো হে এইবার। नरोत्तम दास कोई ना थेली हो रंगा पाए। नरोत्तम दास कोई ना थेली हो रंगा पाए। তোমা বিনে কে আছে আমার, তোমা বিনে কে আছে আমার। হরি হরি বিফলে জনম गवाइनो। श्रेष्ठ देव विज्ञप्ति की जय। श्री नरोत्तम दास ठाकुर की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। Okay, let's read a beautiful translation of this beautiful prayer. Anybody would like to read in English? Nobody? Ritesh Prabhu, welcome back. Good to see you. You want to read today?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes,
Hare
sure.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Oh Lord, Hari, I have spent my life having obtained a human birth and
This
having
is
not
having
worshipped.
not. This is not having not worshipped.
Oh, not worshipped Radha Krishna. I have knowingly drunk poison. The treasure of divine love in Golak Vrindavan has descended in the congregation chanting of Lord Hari's name. Why did my attraction for that chanting never came about? Day and night my heart burns from the fire of the poison of worldliness. I have not taken the means to relieve it. Lord Krishna, who is the son of King of Raja, became the son of Saki, Lord Chaitanya, and Balram became Nittai. The holy name delivered all those souls who were lowly and wretched. The two sinners, Jagai and Madai, are evidence of this. O Lord Krishna, son of Nanda, accompanied by the daughter of Rishabhanu, please be merciful to me. Now, Narottama Das says, O Lord, please do not push me away from your reddish lotus feet, for who is my beloved except for you? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Ritesh Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anything you want to share from this prayer? The reflections?
Prabhuji, this thing I have knowingly drunk poison is
Mm.
very, very true. Whenever we look at all the uh, Maya of the world, we all get drunk the poison of Maya and all the things. But chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Rama relieves us from all these things and takes us to the different path that's transcendental. And it's not a like a one time process. It's something that we knowingly or unknowingly do each and every day. So thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you all the devotees for bringing all these transcendental divine blessings to our life. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Ritesh Prabhu. Nice to see you back. Okay. Yes, so like you rightly said, yes, 22 hours of the day, 22 hours of our day, we drink poison. And then this 2 hours, we come and we chant. So that has been the trend. But as we continue to chant and chant and chant, then our taste increases. And this is, like you said, this is a nectar. And while the worldly desires are all kind of, it may feel like nectar initially, but in the long run we will see it is only going to give us pain, right? We've discussed, like, whatever we may get. Today we have a small house, tomorrow we may have a bigger house. Our aim is always getting bigger. We have a small car, our aim is bigger car. Once we get a bigger car, we want another bigger car. Once we have one car, we want two cars. Once we have two cars, we want three cars, right? We have a job today for 100,000. Tomorrow you want 150,000. You have 150,000. Tomorrow you want 200,000 or 500,000. Right? Whatever that the desires never stop. Just keeps on going and going. So initially it may seem like nectar, but in the long run, all of these are only going to give us pain. We have seen that, you have all experienced that. But the holy name is completely opposite. Initially, it may feel like, oh, why am I wasting my time, doing this, chanting the same thing again and again. But because we are afflicted, as Sri Prabhupada says, we are afflicted, our tongue are afflicted with disease of Maya, jaundice. So even if you give sugarcane juice, it will taste bitter. But we know that is the only medicine. You keep taking the sugarcane juice, eventually your jaundice will be rectified, and you'll start relishing the taste. So holy names are like that. Initially it may seem like poison, but in the middle to long run, you'll start relishing the taste and it will become nectar. Thank you. Yes, so that's what Prabhupada was saying yesterday as we were kind of doing a revision recap of our summary study of Prabhupada Lilamrit, which is the autobiography of biography of Prabhupada's life. So we read chapter 8 yesterday. Yes, and this is Prabhupada is now trying to distribute his Back to Godhead magazines, single-handedly publishing them, authoring them, editing them, getting them printed, going from door to door, talking to people, in restaurant, as you saw this picture, he's going around and talking to everybody, sharing this wisdom of God consciousness with everybody. But people are here, we can see they are literally drinking poison, poison. Everybody is so. In India, especially, people are so addicted to tea, chai, right? Any railway station we go, just chai, chai, chai. That is the first sound you'll hear. And yeah, but Prabhupada going down to their level and bringing their consciousness up, raising their consciousness. So that is the mood of a pure devotee. He will go even to the hell to bring people back to their original constitutional position of serving the Lord and enjoying eternal happiness, not just temporary happiness of this world. So that is the mood of Srila Prabhupada. So let's continue. Chapter 9, a resident of Vrindavan. For a long time, Abhay had wanted to take shelter in Vrindavan, and now there was no obstacle. His purpose remained the same. He would write back to Godhead and deliver it to the printer in Delhi fortnightly. As long as he could afford to travel, he would return to Delhi to distribute back to Godhead, but he would live in the shelter of Vrindavan. In moving to Vrindavan, Abhay was following his predecessor spiritual masters. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Thakur had their house at Radhakund and had preached in Vrindavan. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, and Narottam Das Thakur had lived either in Vrindavan or in Navadvip, near the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. Now he was more than 60 years old, but he was not coming to Vrindavan to retire. He had retired from household responsibilities, but not from his responsibilities of making Back to Godhead as popular and sophisticated as Illustrated Weekly. He would live in Vrindavan and commute to Delhi, but he would never stop preaching. The next morning, before sunrise, Abhay was awake, and he wrote diligently in English, and scriptural references appeared and took their place within convincing arguments. For hours he wrote until sun rose. Keeping to his regular schedule, he put aside his writing and began chanting japa, uttering the Hare Krishna mantra in a soft, deep voice. By 4 a.m., gongs and temple bells throughout the city heralded the Mangala Arati of the deity. Abhay continued chanting alone for another hour. It was light when he went out, his bead bag around his neck, a few copies of Back to Godhead in his hand. Knowing the priests of Radha Raman to be learned Sanskrits, some of whom also read English, Abhay took few copies of Back to Godhead. Then he went to Sri Radha Damodar temple. Abhay would regularly visit Vrindavan's important temples, and afterwards he would shop, returning to his room around 11 with vegetables for cooking. Using the kerosene burner and a three-tiered cooker, he would cook rice, potatoes, and sometimes sabji. He would also cook chapatis. He would take only one meal a day at noon, and in the evening a cup of milk. When he did not have time to cook, he would take the prasadam of the deity. After lunch, he would nap for 15 minutes and then write. He rarely received visitors, but stayed alone, writing. Just before sunset, he would again go out visiting temples. Sadhus would hail Abhay on sight with Vrindavan's common greeting, Jai Radhe, and Abhay would return his Hare Krishna. When in the evening he walked through town. He would find himself amidst the vibrations of one kirtan after another. Everywhere there would be kirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the famous kerosene cooker. Using the kerosene burner and a three-tiered cooker. Three-tiered cooker, this is what Prabhupada even used to use in America. He would cook rice, potatoes, and sometimes sabji. He would cook also chapatis. Commuting Commuting became difficult. He would take the morning train into Delhi and, having nowhere to stay, return to Vrindavan the same night. That didn't give him much time in Delhi, and it was expensive. Even with his minimal personal expenses, it was difficult to raise enough in donations to cover traveling, printing, and mailing. Giving copies of Back to Godhead away wasn't difficult, and he was doing that in Vrindavan. But working alone, writing, editing, selling, soliciting donations was too much. The printer, Mr. Jain, was amazed, wondering why a person would put himself through such difficulties printing a newspaper he couldn't afford. It was because people weren't interested in becoming Krishna conscious, because they had no time. That Back to Godhead had failed financially. Don't flatter, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had said. Speak the truth. And if Krishna is pleased, then you will come out successful. Money will come. And Abhay had firm faith in this. That was his outstanding asset, his faith in his spiritual master. A letter came to Abhay in Vrindavan from his disciple, Acharya Prabhakar Mishra, who was in Bombay working as secretary of the Sanskrit department, inviting Abhay to join him there for preaching. Acharya Prabhakar had established friendship with the governor, intimated that the governor might be willing to help. Thus, in January 1957, after assuring Mahant Gopal that he would return and that he would send 5 rupees a month for his room, Abhay travelled to Bombay. Abhay spoke of his interest in reviving the League of Devotees, and he suggested how he might work within the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan to infuse the life of God consciousness into the governor's cultural projects. Governor Munshi responded by offering Abhay a post as honorary professor of Bhagavad Gita. Abhay accepted and gave the governor some copies of Back to Godhead. He began each class with Hare Krishna Kirtan and then lectured on the Gita, presenting Lord Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. But he soon found his post confining. Abhay wanted to do more than deliver occasional lectures to uncommitted audiences. The conviction was growing within him that he should preach outside India. He was ready to travel anywhere if he could fulfill Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's order to preach in English. One way of expanding his way of preaching was to mail copies of Back to Godhead outside India, and as an incentive for enlisting donors, he made it known that the donor's name would be printed on each copy. His ambition was to bring in large donations, run large printings, and send Back to Godhead to more than 50 countries. Back in 1956, in Delhi, he had been struggling and homeless. And now, as he considered his last 2 years of traveling out of Vrindavan, he felt that his position hadn't really improved. Perhaps Krishna didn't want him to succeed in this way. But one positive thing he had gained: determination to go to West and preach. There he would surely meet with success. On the veranda, Abhay could chant japa, and there would be no interruption. He enjoyed a simple, almost carefree life of minimized physical wants. A few hours of rest at night, a little prasadam at noon, the simplest clothing. His mind and intelligence were free and dwelt constantly on his service to his spiritual master. He saw his present circumstances as a preparation for a greater task before him. Westerners, he had concluded, were not satisfied with a materially comfortable life, devoid of spiritual understanding, more than his fellow Indians. They would be open to the message of the absolute truth. He knew he should go, and he would go if Krishna desired. On the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Abhay keenly felt separation from his spiritual master. He perfectly understood that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's instructions were more important than his physical presence, and that, in fact, the spiritual master was present within his instructions. In this way, Abhay had always been with his spiritual master. Abhay looked back on the more than 20 years since the spiritual master's disappearance. The Gaudiya Mutt had been undone by its leaders, and everyone else had scattered like leaves in a storm. Abhay wrote down his thoughts in a poem called Vrindavan Bhajan and sent to Keshav Maharaj, who published this in Gaudiya Patrika. One night, Abhay had the same dream where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur appeared and asked Abhay to take sannyas. Abhay first had to approach one of his godbrothers for permission. He decided to turn to Bhakti Vilas Tirth Maharaj, the leader of the Chaitanya Mutt in Calcutta, and gave his proposal to travel to the west to preach Krishna consciousness, but they had other priorities. Abhay next turned to Keshav Maharaj in Mathura, and Keshav Maharaj told Abhay to take sannyas immediately. On the morning of September 17, 1959, in the 50 by 25-foot DT room on the second floor of the Keshavji Mutt, a group of devotees sat before the deities of Radhakrishna and Lord Chaitanya. Abhay sat on a mat of kusha grass beside 90-year-old Sanatan, also to receive sannyas that day. Sitting opposite the two candidates, Narayan Maharaj, Keshav Maharaj's disciple, prepared to conduct the ceremony. Sitting on a raised asan, His Holiness Keshav Maharaj presided. After Abhay's speech, each initiate received his sannyas, Danda Tulsi neck beads, and sannyas mantra. Keshav Maharaj said that Abhay would now be known as Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Ki Jai, and that Sanatan would be Muni Maharaj. After the ceremony, the two new sannyasis posed for a photo, standing on either side of their sannyas guru, who sat in a chair. This event was reported in Gaudiya Patrika, which concluded that in the month of Bhadra, on the day on which Vishwaroop accepted sannyas, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami at the Sri Keshavji Gaudiya Mutt accepted sannyas from the founder of the Vedanta Samiti, Bhakti Pragnana Keshav Maharaj. End of chapter 9. This is the very famous photo of Prabhupada taking and his son after taking sannyas. So this is Prabhupada, and this is Muni Maharaj, and this is Bhakti Pragnana Keshav Maharaj. Okay. Abhay would now be known as Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj. The two new sannyasis posed for a photo, standing on either side of their sannyas guru, who sat in a chair. Chapter 10. This momentous hour of need, Bhakti Vedanta Swami, accompanied by some of the Keshavji's Mutt's devotees, made a preaching tour of Agra, Kanpur, Jhansi, and Delhi. He came back in his own place at the Vamshi Gopalji temple. No one called him Abhay Babu any longer. Even amongst friends, it was Swamiji or Maharaj or Swami Bhakti Vedanta Ji. Swami Maharaj, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that a preacher should go to the cities and not remain in the seclusion of a holy place. Bhakti Vedanta Swami stayed at a room in his Radha Krishna temple in the Chippiwada neighborhood of Old Delhi. When Krishna Pandit learned of his guest's lone struggles to produce Back to Godhead, he volunteered to help with some of the business aspects of the publication. Bhaktivedanta Swami was indeed gratified by Krishna Pandit's sincere help, and in appreciation, he gave him an addition to his name, Hari Bhaktanudas, one who serves the Lord's devotees. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami continued printing his Back to Godhead magazines and also printed Easy Journey to Other Planets in 1960 for students, especially, which was like a warm-up for his real work of presenting Srimad Bhagavatam. At Chippiwada, Bhaktivedanta Swami followed much the same daily schedule as at Keshi Ghat, except that with Krishna Pandit doing some of the secretarial work for Back to Godhead, Prabhupada was now free to devote more hours to Srimad Bhagavatam. He used to translate Srimad Bhagavatam at about 3 a.m. Every day he was typing and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. He was also sending the proofs of Back to Godhead magazine. He was doing by hand all this type of work. Every day he was typing, reading Srimad Bhagavatam and going for temple darshan, returning back at 2 to 4 in the afternoon. Then he was typing and sending the proofs of Back to Godhead to a place and checking them. He was doing by hand all this type of work. His main activity was typing many hours a day. As he approached the first verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhakti Vedanta Swami realized that Srimad Bhagavatam alone could save society from the evil influences of the age of Kali. The recommendation for this age was simply to hear from the pure devotees about the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. In February of 1961, on Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Vyas Puja Day, Bhakti Vedanta Swami was again in Vrindavan, where some of his disciples gathered, offered flowers before his picture, and held congregational chanting in the temple. Srila Prabhupada wrote a poem in offering specifying preaching Krishna consciousness as the prime mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. In July 1962, Bhaktivedanta Swami changed his Vrindavan residence from Vamshi Gopalji temple to Radha Damodar temple. The main room was connected to the kitchen by a 10-foot long veranda, and from his kitchen he could see the Samadhi of Srila Rupa Goswami ki jai. He was living in the temple of Jiva Goswami, where great souls like the Goswamis, Rupa, Sanatan, Raghunath, and Jiva had all gathered, taken prasadam, chanted, and discussed Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. It was the best place to work on Srimad Bhagavatam. In January of 1961, one of Bhaktivedanta Swami's Delhi acquaintances had shown him an announcement for the Congress for Cultivating Human Spirit, a convention to be held in Tokyo from May 10 to 20. The 10th canto, 20th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam presents a description of autumn in Vrindavan. For each seasonal phenomenon, the Srimad Bhagavatam presents a parallel teaching from the Vedas. This was the theme Prabhupada used in that publication in Tokyo. The theme was world peace through cultivating human spirit. Bhaktivedanta Swami then conceived a special project for the convention. The 10th canto, 20th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam presents a description of autumn in Vrindavan, and for each seasonal phenomenon, the Srimad Bhagavatam presents a parallel teaching from the Vedas. Bhaktivedanta Swami worked quickly to produce a 20,000 word manuscript, 50 lessons for 50 illustrations, but Bhaktivedanta Swami couldn't attend the convention. Rupa Goswami wanted him to go to the west. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted him to go to the west. Krishna had arranged that he be brought to Radha Damodar temple to receive the blessings. At the Radha Damodar temple, he felt he had entered an eternal residence known only to pure devotees of the Lord. Yet, although they were allowing him to associate intimately with them in the place of their pastimes, they were ordering him to leave Radha Damodar and Vrindavan, and to deliver the message of the Acharyas, to present Srimad Bhagavatam to the Western world. Hare Krishna. Yes, this is the famous picture of Srila Prabhupada sitting in his kitchen in Radha Damodar temple. Bhaktivedanta Swami changed his Vrindavan residence to Radha Damodar temple. From his kitchen, he could take darshan of the Samadhi of Sri Rupa Goswami right outside this window. Krishna had arranged that he be brought to Radha Damodar temple to receive their blessings. Hari Bol. Okay, we'll pause here for today and we can take any reflections. Anybody like to share anything, say anything? While you think, I was reflecting how, like Prabhupada is saying, again, like, how, like, the point we started today's discussion was, we have so much of comfort and luxury now, especially in America. If you remember all of our lives in India, I'm sure most of us would have come from very humble, background in India, our families and our culture there. And now that we are here, we live in big like mansions. I always joke like, this kind of house we can have 20 members of our family live from India. We used to have similar houses, but we had three families of brothers living in three different floors. Here we have such big homes and only, you know, two husband, wife, and maybe one or two kids living. So we have so much of comfort and luxury, but in the heart, everybody's void, right? That's what Prabhupada is saying. In the Western world, people have already experienced, material luxuries, and still, they are suffering, or they are feeling lack or something, because that happiness that everybody is looking after is they're looking after in the wrong place. Like we say, this is dukhalayam ashashvatam mrityu lok. This lok is meant for only death, for purification and for death. And if you don't utilize this human form of life, which is a gift, which is a present given to us, then we are just wasting our life. Like Narottam Das Thakur said, Manusya Janma Paya, Radha Krishna Na Bhajiya, Chaniya Suniya, Vishakhainu. We are just unknowingly drinking poison. So Prabhupada knew very well that Westerners are ready for this, right? While Indians were just imitating and becoming more westernized in India with after Britishers left. So yeah, it is so nice that he was preparing at this Radha Damodar temple. Of course, is such a it's out of the world experience when we go there. Yes, it is almost like Prabhupada is saying, it feels like we are in the spiritual world. Actually, he says this is the center of the spiritual world. So all the Goswamis who used to live there, they used to chant, so you can imagine what kind of spiritual vibrations would be there. And spiritual vibration are not temporary, right? They're eternal. Once a pure devotee has graced, a land, piece of land or place, that place is forever a dham. So when those Goswamis did their bhajan there, we can, even today, if we go there, we can experience the immense spiritual potency. So Prabhupada used to call that as the center of the spiritual world. So when you go there, near the Sri Goswami Samadhi, you can just sit there, chant, and you'll feel so much. Yeah, you'll feel such a big, peaceful calmness in your heart and such divine connection. So that is what Prabhupada is doing here, taking darshan of Sri Rupa Goswami Samadhi. And like we said, Rupa Goswami came and gave him darshan and told him that now is the time to go, because he had already started his translation. He had completed the translation for the first canto. So it was time to go out to West and preach. And you see how Krishna orchestrates everything, right? Like we say, for devotees who are sincere, initially there'll always be struggle. It's not like their lives are free of struggle, right? We saw Prabhupada how single-handedly he was struggling in Delhi, walking. He didn't even used to use rickshaw. He used to use, जैसे हम बोलते हैं इंडिया में 11 नंबर की बस, only use his legs. He would walk so many miles every day. And then we see his diet, just eating one meal a day at noon, and then again drinking some milk in the night. And so we see that is how bhajan happens. Some people say, oh, I will earn a lot of money, I will have good place, and then I will do bhajan when I retire. ऐसे भजन नहीं होता ऐसे भजन नहीं होता है, right? So so that this they are showing us, again we see from the lives of our acharyas how bhajan happens. It's a process of austerity, path of austerity, right? You have to become austere, and then bhajan happens. So for us, while we are living in our grand homes here in America, still, waking up in the morning and chanting, this is austerity. And if we are able to take this, like Prabhupada said, my disciples, I'll be very happy if instead of saying Jai Shri Prabhupada, they can wake up in the morning and do their sadhana. So this is austerity. Serving, going out of our way and serving on Saturdays, Sundays, giving our time, in service to Srila Prabhupada and his mission. We are cooking, we are distributing prasad, we are distributing books, all these services that we are doing voluntarily, selflessly. These are austerities, and this will help us advance on the spiritual path. So we have to live a life of austerity, selflessness, selflessly serving. Then I will be able to do bhajan nicely. If we think that, yeah, I will just sit nicely in my home after retirement and then I will read Bhagavad Gita, that day will never come. And who knows when tomorrow will come, right? Nobody knows what is going to happen tomorrow. So today is a gift, today is a present. Every day every day, acharyas say, not just every day, every moment, we should remember Krishna. So like we were saying, 22 hours that we spend rest of our day is a preparation for these 2 hours. So if we spend the 22 hours in remembrance of the Lord, and with proper consciousness, then this 2 hours that we spend morning japa and our sadhana will give us the intended benefit, intended fruit of nectar of the holy name and nectar of the sweet attachment to the holy name. So we have to make sure that our consciousness is always remaining steady. So like Acharya said, 8 hours, of course, we have 8 hours that we work. Even 8 hours, sometimes actually, if we say, if we actually, when we do this morning sadhana, like Vishwanath Prabhu says, there is spiritual benefits, there's mental benefits, there's physical benefits. Our mind becomes so sharp, so focused. We can actually do our work in the job also very focused, with full focus, and actually we can complete our work even in 4 or 5 hours. You don't even need 8 hours. Literally, anybody who's saying that they're working 8 hours, they are just lying actually. Even the CEO, CIOs, nobody works 8 hours, right? So but they also wake up early. You see, most of the successful people in the world, they also wake up early. But their intention is what? To take care of their body, to keep their body fit so that they can have more enjoyment, right? They will do jogging, they will do running, yoga, whatever. But the whole goal is to just keep their body fit and mind fit so that they can become more successful, more wealthy, more enjoyment, right? But for a devotee, the goal is different. We wake up in the morning. So somebody said, you can judge a person by two things: what time he wakes up and what he does after he wakes up. right? So those are two things that describe, what a person is. So in the material world, yes, people wake up, but then what they do after waking up is different versus in devotional life. The devotees wake up, and what they do after waking up is always just connect themselves back to the Lord, back to the Guru Parampara. So, so yeah, those 22 hours, 8 hours we work, 8 hours we sleep, still we have 8 hours remaining. In those 8 hours, maybe we can keep 2 hours for eating and other duties. We still have four hours we can keep for ourselves, for family, and still we remain 2 hours. At least those 2 hours we can give to Krishna. Even if we can't give 2 hours, at least we start with 15 minutes, we start with 30 minutes, gradually we increase. But while we are, you know, uh, and if we do that, then yes, even the 8 hours of sleeping can become sadhana, where acharyas, because once you are connected to the holy name, even your sleep, while you're just before going to bed, you remember Krishna. While waking up, you remember Guru Parampara and Krishna. That means your 8 hours of sleep also has become bhajan, because and slowly that will also happen, that yeah, our sleep, because our sleep is to rest the body so that the body can be utilized in the service of Krishna, so then that sleep also becomes seva and becomes bhajan. Okay, so yeah, so a lot of life lessons to learn from our wonderful acharyas. That's why we are reading and rereading Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrit as a summary study, so that way we can not just read them, but remember them, and not just remember them, but actually apply some of these teachings in our own lives. Hare Krishna. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything that you loved, liked, anything that you have applied in your lives that has transformed your life? At least so many devotees are chanting. We have been doing this morning sadhana for the last 2 years, so that is good. So many devotees are, all of you are joining, giving each other, spiritual boost and spiritual positive vibes with each other's company, association, as we say, of devotees. We can actually, it's like otherwise one stick can be easily broken, like Prabhupada used to give the example, right? But if we are collectively working together, then it becomes, even the japa becomes sankirtan, and the collective strength, the spiritual strength is so much more potent that we can all, like a tide of current in a river, we can all flow together back home, back to Godhead. Yes. Nalin Prabhu, you want to say something?
Yes, Prabhu. As you said, if we'll sleep also, if that is for God also, that's a good way of thinking. Like in the last Saturday, Prabhuji said, right? Anything you are doing for God purpose, though it cannot be purified immediately, but if your consciousness is towards God, either you sleep or anything you are doing anarthas also in the beginning, it's quite difficult to leave all anarthas. But if you'll surrender to that, okay, I'm doing it, but I will come over to this kind of anarthas slowly, then that is also one kind of surrender. So that's what we have to keep that mind into that consciousness rather than only, okay, I'm keeping my health just for enjoyment and all, right? So I'm keeping my health, I'm sleeping because my body should be good for my bhakti, for my seva. So that kind of consciousness is very important. Yeah, bro.
Thank you. Yeah, we see, right, like new generation, new generation of devotees. It's good. A lot of devotees, are also bodybuilders, which is good. They utilize that. I remember once, when we went to one of my Guru Maharaj uh, programs. There are a few devotees who are nice bodybuilders. So they were doing a lot of heavy lifting of furniture, or they were like Vyasasana, they could easily move, right? So like that. So it's not bad, when we go to gym, just to keep ourselves fit, so that we can utilize our body in the service of Krishna. So that is the consciousness. And even when we go to gym, you can make it Krishna conscious by, I just take my Bluetooth. Right? Many devotees do that, and that's not like me. I have taken this idea from other devotees. But yeah, generally when devotees go even to gym, they will have Bluetooth on. They will either be listening to some kirtan or some katha, right? So even that 1 hour we spend in gym becomes Krishna conscious right? And we are able to learn something, and we are also able to keep our bodies fit so that we can utilize our bodies. Like Prabhupada used to take massage that time. Prabhupada, of course, didn't used to go to gym, but he used to take his morning massage, oil massage every morning, right? Why? So that his body remains fit and he could use it in the service of the Lord. Thank you. Okay, anybody else would like to say anything? All right, then we'll pause here. Thank you so much for your kind association and reading of this Prabhupada Lilamrit that we can apply in our lives. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha anantakoti vaishnavinda ki jai Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hari.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Have a great day, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.